Hello, and welcome to Mind Your Head, a space for people to share their stories, talk openly and honestly about their own mental health challenges, and to give some listeners some comfort in knowing you're not alone. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we record this podcast, the Gubbi Gubbi people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples. We honour their enduring connection to the land, waters and culture, and recognise their invaluable contributions they make to our communities. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Jansen, welcome to the podcast, mate. So glad to get you on today. We almost made this happen a couple of months ago. But yeah, I'm super pumped. I've actually been a big fan of yours for a while, and I think one of the things that I love about your content is actually your energy. In all your, whether it's your cooking or your business or whatever you're doing on your content, I always find it so infectious, your energy. And every time, if I'm being honest, every time I'm watching it on my phone, it always makes me smile. And I'm like, oh, sick. Like, he's having a good one today. I love it. Whether it's your cooking page, because we'll get into it, because I love cooking, and cooking's been sort of my therapeutic practice that I do that sort of helps me with my mental health. What's been sort of going back? What's been like the energy like in your household growing up? Have you always been who you are today?
I don't know. I guess like for me, I grew up like just with my mum and my sister. Like my dad left when my mum was 3 months pregnant with me because he didn't want a second child. Whether like that was me or somebody else, like it was me at the time. So yeah, I just grew up in a very feminine sort of household, and my mum did everything for my sister and I in terms of like we had more than what people with two parents had. However, I don't think I was able to really process it at that young age, what I was missing out on. Like, I'd go over to friends' houses and they'd have, relationships with their dad, and I'd always have that like missing piece. But yeah, mum was incredible. Like we went overseas and like all that sort of stuff. And I guess it's interesting when you look back at your childhood, so many things replay on your head and go, oh, that's why I'm like that, or that's why I see that way because of how I was brought up. And it's so interesting when you meet another person, they've also had their own experiences when they've grown up. So then you're like, I don't understand why you see it that way, especially when you're going into relationships, right, with like another person. Like bringing those two people together with two different upbringings, two different experiences, like they're not always going to be the same. And then that's when it's like you can like sort of butt heads with somebody.
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? Like,
huge challenge. Yeah. But it's, I don't know if we're steering off topic here, but you said, what was it like growing up? I mean, I guess I had a great childhood with sort of like being looked after by my mum and stuff. But then that whole aspect of missing out on like having a father and then being bullied and all that kind of stuff because I was more feminine and like in touch with my emotions. Like I'm a very sensitive, emotional person. Maybe that's because I was brought up in a feminine environment. I always, felt like I was missing out on, certain things.
And how do you think it sort of affected you as a kid? I actually didn't know that you sort of grew up without a father. I can imagine that, sort of later in life, did it, how heavy did it affect you?
So when I was a kid, like I pined for like validation and for acceptance to be a part of like, to be one of the boys, like to be invited over to play Xbox or PlayStation, because that's what we used to do as kids. Yeah. Now that everyone's on iPads and phones and no one's outside playing on tricycles and playing with balls.
Climbing trees and stuff like that.
It's nuts how everything's changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always wanted to be, so the boys, like my friends who I thought were my friends at the time, would always make me do something. And so I was always constantly getting in trouble because I'd be like, yeah, I'll do it, like so I can go to the acceptance. Yeah. I used to do everything for acceptance, validation, because I feel like a part of me, I didn't feel worthy to be accepted or loved, even though my mum did. There was a part in my brain, and I didn't understand it until, later on in life, that my dad left and he'd never wanted me, and like, you know, that sort of feeling of not being, you know, worthy of someone's love, or being accepted, because like, you know, so then that whole rejection thing was like, I can't be rejected. I've just got to do whatever I can to be accepted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was severely bullied, like going into high school and things like that. And I guess it probably didn't really help. So my mum had a talent agency. So I grew up like a child model and on all that sort of stuff and TV. So like I was always in the limelight, and kids were always, you know, hanging shit on me like, oh, I saw you in the magazine. Or the biggest one for me was I was in this show called Summer Heights High when I was 11 years old. And that came out year 7, like first year of high school. And my role in that, I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay. My role in that was Sebastian, right? And I was dating Jamae, who's Chris Lilly in real life, who is actually a guy but was playing as a girl. I went to an all-boys private school. So you can just imagine like what I was copying, right? Like all of the terms.
You never think about that when you're watching it, eh? Like, you never thought about the backlash of it. Instead of going, what an amazing thing is on, you know, on TV doing these things, it's just like chronic bullying.
School is already like a hard time for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
So for them to have something to grab onto, as you know, like they just like bashed me for it. Like I had like, again, because of that need for being accepted and wanted, I would do anything to like sort of push those comments away so that I could feel like I was part of the group. I was always the one that was bullied. You know, like I had money extorted from me. Like I was bashed a few times.
When you were just a kid?
Yeah, like when I was like 13, 14, growing up. Pretty like bad stuff, you know, like I was in circles because of this acceptance of me wanting that. I got myself into like the wrong circles, and then they turned, and then like, fights and stuff.
Wow.
And I just, I don't know how to keep going with that, to be honest. But yeah, school's a tough time.
Oh yeah, I bet. And like even mentioning sort of Summer Heights High, like how long were you in the TV show for the whole season?
So I was only in there for like 3 episodes, but it was like the start, the middle, and the end kind of the actual show. And so that came out right when I went to high school.
Did you resent that? Just because of the backlash that came with it, did you resent being in that show?
I don't know if I resented it, but I was just like, it was just fuel to the fire for why I was getting picked on even more, even though I was already like more feminine and stuff. Like, and you know, going to school like with like boys want to be boys. I was trying, you know, to fit in, to do the sports, to do this, to do that. But deep down, I obviously as a kid, I didn't really understand. Do you know what I mean? Until you look back at it now. And I say this all the time, but I don't know if you've ever seen the interview with Oprah. I don't know who she was getting interviewed by, but and don't quote me on what she said, but something about her childhood and with her dad and like her upbringing, how it was terrible. She said it was the best thing that ever happened to me because now I'm in a position to be able to impact millions of lives and be the person that I am. So I never look back now and go, I wish that never happened, because it happened. It happened the way it happened, and it was meant to happen that way. But I've grown from being that little boy, that little scared boy where I was constantly bullied and pining for validation into the man that I am today. And I would never change it for a thing.
Yeah, it's almost getting rid of that victim mentality and thinking, oh, why did this happen to me? And it's just thinking like, not good that it happened to me, but it's happened to me for a reason. And I can use it, you know, to help other people. Or you're obviously a much stronger person because of the things that you've gone through.
Everyone is.
Everyone is. Like I watched I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, and he did this. He's got this Netflix thing out, and this girl stood up, and he was like, "Oh, so what are you going through?" And she was like, "My dad's never been around. Like he's never wanted to be a part of my life, and you know, she's always, it seems similar to your story, like she's always seeking that sort of extra validation and stuff like that. And she's so motivated and driven, and her mum was there, and Tony's like, get your mum to stand up too. And they're both talking to Tony, and he said to her, you wouldn't be the person you are if your dad didn't bail on you. You wouldn't be how driven and motivated you are and like driven to succeed. You wouldn't be this strong woman if your dad didn't actually bail on you. And it's just like flipping that sort of perspective and how you view your current situation. And she was just like, yeah, I guess I wouldn't be as driven as I am if my dad didn't bail. And he's like, yeah, you should call your dad and tell him thank you. And she's like, never once would ever say thank you to him. And apparently she called him, said thank you, and then their whole relationship's different. He apologized for not being around, and he just got someone to sort of see a different perspective around their whole life, and it just shifted so quickly. It's amazing.
Yeah. I don't necessarily hate, because that's a very strong word, him. Like, I've tried to make connections and that in the past, and it's always like just nothing comes to fruition of it. But I never hate anybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, I always feel and believe that everyone is always doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they have, you know, at that time. And 100%. Then, you know, so I don't know what happened really, but that's just my experience and my viewpoint of it. And my sister's the same. Like, we always think back and it's like, okay, so that's what we think happened. How can we dig deeper as to figuring it out, or not figuring it out, but like then going, okay, that's how that impacted me. And yes, still sometimes that will come up. How can we work on our inner like child to sort of
heal the wound?
Yeah. I guess we're like this whole word of trauma that goes around. I think it's just all of our inner child stuff that we haven't like dealt with that just constantly comes up. And that's like the beautiful thing, is that having that awareness is when it comes up, recognize it, and then try to figure out why that's come up instead of, and that's the same thing I've gone through, whereas things would come up in my life, say between 20 and 30 years old, and I would either get angry, suppress it, drink, drugs, you know, push it away, whatever I could, anything else but to deal with it. And I think I hit 30 and something happened where I, you know, realized that I was wasting my potential, or even wanting a better me, a better version of myself. Like, I was sick of, you know, the habits and the way I was sort of handling life. And something happened when I was 30, and I started to realize and actually sit with all the things that would trigger me, instead of sort of forgetting about it or getting angry or wishing it would go away. I would just sit with it and figure out, why does that trigger me? You know, and a lot of it, almost all of it, was going back to, you know, when I was 9, 10, 12-year-old Elliot, and something small's happened that I haven't dealt with, and then it's just manifested into like certain beliefs, certain values, and then it's like you're an adult, and a lot of its time is just that inner child that we just haven't healed properly yet. Yeah. We've all got parts.
Are you super close with your sisters and your mum? And like, I know you sort of said that it was a more feminine household, and part of that's obviously being connected to our emotions and being able to talk about our emotions. Were you always able to have that open dialogue with your mum and your sisters?
No. Yeah. I to respect, like, as a man, there was certain things that I just suppressed as well, that I didn't feel like I was able to talk about, you know, as a boy or a man or whatever. Like, yeah, my mum and my sister was always there to listen, but I didn't really share a lot as a kid, because maybe I didn't understand what was happening. Or, I mean, my mum knew a lot because I was always getting in trouble. She was always getting phone calls. You know, we had to like call the police a couple of times to like back these guys off who were like extorting money from me. Like, it got like pretty bad. So she knew what was going on, and like I was almost expelled from school as well. And that, for me, if we want to talk about turning points, so my mum there was this guy, right? He was in year 12. I think I was in year 9. And again, my friends were egging me on to like, you know, sort of like call him names and stuff. So he had a little bit of grey hair when he was in year 12. So I'd call him Gramps. And of course I thought it was funny at the time. But anyway, I was only doing this so that so I could be accepted. One day I was at my locker and I got a tap on the shoulder. And next thing you know, I just got copped a massive like punch to the nose, and like blood just started rushing everywhere. I opened my eyes and I started to chase after him, and it was too late. And then I got a call to go down to the principal's office, and then my mum was there, and I was like in tears, and the vice principal, who I actually still talk to this day, and I'm super grateful for, he goes, I tell you what, Jansen, he's like, next time, like, there's not going to be a next time. You got to stop this. Like, you know, you're going to be expelled. Because I was suspended like 6-7 times, all for stupid shit.
Wow.
You know, stealing, pornography, like all that sort of stuff, all because I just wanted to be
one of the boys.
Yeah. And so, that point for me, I went home and like I was working at McDonald's at the time, and my mum said, you know what, if you want to fucking work at McDonald's for the rest of your life, you're going the right way about it. Like, I've had enough of getting called, you know, Masterland College is calling me all the time. Like, I'm sick of it, you know. And that's when it just hit me. I was like, okay, this woman like is everything to me. I can't keep disappointing her. So that point, I don't know what triggered in my brain, and mum still says it to this day. She's like, I don't know what happened overnight when you went to sleep, but the next day, she's like, you're a completely different person. Like, I don't know where that in my head, I was like, you know what? Fuck what everyone thinks. Like, I'm just gonna do me, and like, I don't care. You know, I became school captain. Like, I got all these awards and stuff. Like,
it changed that dramatically.
Bro, it changed so quickly in the next 2 years, and all the friends were like, what happened? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were like, what are you doing, sort of thing.
Did you keep the same friends group, or was it?
Well, yeah, but I just was like, I just stood my own ground.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to me overnight, but I just didn't want to keep disappointing my mum. And that fear of being expelled, or again, maybe it was a rejection thing of being like, oh, I'm going to be kicked out.
Abandoned or
I was
something.
like, no way, I'm not letting this happen. And from that point on, I still have dips because I'm a human, but I fully flipped the switch.
What was the goals and dreams when you sort of were growing up? I know you mentioned sort of the Summer Heights High. Like, were you into like sort of the acting, the modelling? Was that sort of what you sort of wanted to go down when you were a young kid?
I guess I kind of grew up in that industry just by default because my mum had the business. So I don't think it was something that was a dream or a goal. But, you know, when I was finished school, I then went and like continued and like did modeling and stuff, and then I felt I wasn't living like a full. I just was dry, like the niche or the sort of whatever you want to call it. I just was feeling no substance.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just standing in front of thing, taking photos.
Oh, so no fulfillment or anything like that.
I wasn't feeling like fulfilled. I'm like, I've got more in me. Like this is not hitting.
I got
at
more to
all.
offer. Yeah.
And then I went to university actually because I had a couple of family friends who were in property. And so I was like, I went to university to study that for 3 months. And again, I was like, this is so dry, so boring. I'm doing it for money. And I went overseas. And then I deferred my university every single 3 months and then cancelled it. I lived overseas for 3.5 years in Germany and went to Europe, like did the whole thing. And that changed my whole life.
Really? That traveling?
That traveling changed my whole life.
In what way?
I just felt a sense of like freedom and just I could be who I wanted to be. I was in places where nobody knew who I was. I could actually be myself. I could be whoever I wanted to be and I wasn't being judged. I just felt this liberation, and I think it got to a point where I was actually, and it sounds super cliche every time I share this story, but I was in the Sahara Desert. Legit, I was in the Sahara Desert in Morocco, and I was, it was like 2 a.m. and we were camping at the bottom of this sand dune, and I woke up in the middle of the night and I just had this feeling that I just wanted to climb this sand dune.
Are you on a tour? Are you by yourself?
Yeah, on a tour. Sorry.
On a tour, yeah.
Not just,
just roaming.
Just
on a
roaming
camel.
in the desert. Yeah. Oh, it sounds not real, but it's real. So I was climbing this sand dune. I was so determined, and I've always been super determined, like, in my whole life to just like, again, be accepted, or I've just been like, no, I'm going to keep going, going to do what I can, you know, to prove that I'm good enough or worthy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you've ever been to like the snow or you've been like in It's like quicksand. You're going like 3 steps up, 2 steps down. Feels like you're getting nowhere, right? And I kept going. And I got to the top, and all you could see was like just dunes of sand, and you could like see this little particles of sand just like blowing off the top of the peaks. Super silent. And at that point, it was the first time in my life where it was just pure silence, and all I was with was my own thoughts. And I just sat there. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm traveling and I'm experiencing, yes, but I have something more to give to this world than just existing and experiencing. So it was at that point I decided to start making my way back to Australia. And, I had a big passion for nutrition and things like that. So I was like, I've got to share this with the world. Like I have to start a business or like start sharing online. And then, a few weeks later, I returned to Australia after like 3.5 years.
It almost sounds like a crazy awakening.
It was.
Like a rebirth almost type of thing.
It's like something on the movies, to be honest. He was in the Sahara Desert and he was on top. Yeah. But that's exactly what happened. And I tell everyone that moment in my life was changed everything. And then when you came back, where did you go? What did you do? Yeah. You got a passion for nutrition. I came back. So I'm from Melbourne. So I came back, went to Melbourne and started with a few ideas, and like I moved back in with mum, obviously. And I started like a meal prep sort of company just with her friends, like that wanted food. Started that way. And then I was like, oh, this is super hard work. Like, I'm like, oh God, are you kidding me? Like I'm working in this kitchen like 16 hours. I'm like, this is not happening. I need to go to the next level. Yeah. And like I had no money, obviously. I'd just been traveling, like burning all my cash. And I said to mum, like I loved music festivals. And I said, oh, let's do a food truck. Yeah, sick. Yeah. And so we went all in and we like built this food truck, and it was like a trailer, but we like made it like a house. So it had like swings, a balcony, like wood. Really? Yeah, full on. We did like not just like those vinyl trucks that you see, like we like cladded it. Oh, right. And it was like not a drivable one, like you had to tow it. Yeah. So we got a Hilux and we did like Falls Festival, like Beyond the Valley, like, all these music festivals. What sort of food? All vegan. All vegan? All vegan. So is your whole family vegan? Is that where it comes from? No. So again, it was in Africa again. I was actually in Lesotho, which is a country inside of South Africa. And I saw a cow being... couldn't do it. That for me, that was it. Couldn't do it. For me, that was it. It's hard to say that now because I'm not vegan anymore, but that's what did it. And I was vegan for 10 years. Were you? Yeah. So anyway, the food truck was fully vegan. We did festivals. It was an absolute hit. Yeah. But then the guy that actually built it, he made it too heavy. So when it was loaded with food, like, because all this cladding, like wood, tin, it adds up, right? And the Hilux could only tow 3.5 ton, but when it was full, the trailer was like on the ground, man, like sagging. Like it was like 5 ton almost with food and avocados and all this shit we had in there. Crazy. Bro, I remember one festival, listen to this, we would do like smashed avo and stuff. We were at Falls Festival and it was meant to be a mint weekend. The weather was meant to be good and it was just raining all weekend. Bro, we bought like 800 avocados. We had to throw them all in the bin. All of them? Yeah, because no one was like buying it. No one was buying smashed avo. I tried to salvage them, like freeze the avocados, and it just like, bro, 800 avocados. Okay. And then... Think about it. That one box is 20. Think about 800. I don't want to. No. I don't want to. Oh. So you got to there and was like, all right, I can't do the food truck. What's that? You got to that point. Yeah, so then we couldn't do the food truck because it was too heavy. Yeah. So we were like, we're going to put this inside like a warehouse and do a full cafe in there. Nice. So just park it there so it doesn't have to move. Anyway, we did that and then we were paying rent, but the guy that we were subleasing off wasn't paying rent to the main guy. Everyone got evicted, blah, blah, blah. Sold the food truck, managed to like make a profit on it, which was great, and then put that into like a cafe.
Yeah.
So build a cafe from like scratch. It was like an empty shell.
Yeah.
We built like a Bali hut inside, and like because we used to go to Bali a lot
Yeah.
because with festivals it's seasonal. So every time it was winter, Mum and I would just like we'd go to Bali.
Sick.
You know.
Yeah.
So we loved Bali.
Yeah.
So we built like a Bali hut. You know, like with the straw
themed and everything.
theme
Yeah,
and everything
Yeah.
inside this place, and it was absolutely pumping. Like, had that for 2.5 years. Like, you know, had everything so dialed. SEO. You know, every time you'd type vegan in, would come up number one. Like, killed it. And then COVID came. We had a buyer the week before COVID because we were done. We wanted to get out, and the week before COVID, like he was like, "Yep, we're gonna sign the contracts and whatever," and then COVID hit, and then he disappeared, and just like we lost everything.
Really, everything.
Well, like we
obviously Melbourne shut down.
Melbourne, yeah. So Melbourne was really bad. Like we had 5K radius that people could come and visit.
Yeah.
And being vegan, like a lot of people would come and travel. Like they drive hours to come and eat our food. And so like we didn't have massive support from like the locals because we were in a very area that was like Greek and they loved meat and all that sort of stuff. And we were getting like all of the payments from the government. What were they called?
I actually don't know because
you were in Sunny Coast. Yeah,
I was in Sunny Coast, so I think
COVID didn't exist.
I think we had a 3-day lockdown and it was lifted, so it wasn't like my cousins are down in Melbourne.
Yeah,
and I spoke to them and they said it was just fucking horrendous.
Yeah, so we were getting all the payments and whatever, and we were just delivering food. Like we had to switch it up and start delivering meals. Like so, we did like tell people, hey, like we're delivering this week's it's lasagna, whatever. Like, do you want to buy it? And we'd go out and deliver it. And I was just like, oh, this is relentless. Like this was my dream, and it's just been destroyed. I'm in this cafe, like there's no one coming in. Like this is depressing. We're governed by what's going on outside with all these rules.
Yeah, you got no control of what's going on.
No control, and we just lost. The buyer that was going to buy it, and there's no way he's coming back. Like, there's nothing to sell anymore. Like, what are we doing here? And it got to a point where it started to open back up, but it was just like, it's just ruined. Like, the vibe, everything, like everyone was still a little bit, And so I said to Mum, I went back in. Oh yeah, it kept going in and out of lockdown, in and out. And I'm like, this is too emotional. Like, we need to like close and get out of here. So she's like, oh, let's wait until March, we'll get more of the government payments. I'm like, this was December. I'm like, I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting. I said, let's pack up and leave. So the landlord was like, yeah, keep paying full rent. But like the government was like, no, you don't have to pay full rent because you
can't afford it.
Can't afford it. We couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
We literally couldn't afford it. And this guy was just hassling us. And so we left and went to Queensland.
That's how you landed in Gold Coast.
Bro, we literally, I don't know if I should say this, but we closed. We put on Instagram, hey guys, this is the last week of trading, and we were getting smashed. Like people were like, oh my God, like you guys are leaving. Bro, when we finished the last day, the amount of messages we got saying like, you saved my life and like all this stuff like, oh, I was going through cancer and you were the reason why I was coming into the cafe. It's almost like before bro, it was insane. It was almost like before someone's about to die, people tell you how they really feel. And we were getting flooded with messages like, oh my God, like we love you guys. Like, mum and son duo, like you guys were like our second home. Cause we made it like such a vibe in there. It wasn't just a normal cafe where you'd come in like, you're coming into our house.
Yeah, it wasn't just the food.
No, it was the energy, it was the vibe. Everything was off its head, you know? We just cared so much.
Yeah. That would have been nice to hear from all those people, man. Like,
tears, just we still get messages to this day. People like, oh my God, you're coming back. We miss you. And like, I could never do it again. You couldn't pay me to do a cafe.
But how cool is that? Like the deeper connection that food has, and not just food itself, like the environment that you guys set. It's just, I think people underestimate how powerful it can be. It's just like you go to your favorite spot, and whatever your favorite spot is, you go there, and there's so many levels to why that's your favorite spot.
Yep.
It's the people, it's the culture, it's like the environment there. It's obviously the food, but there's so many different layers to it, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Could be the seat that you sit in,
Yeah,
the view that
the
you
view,
have,
yeah,
the
absolutely.
music, anything.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got to Goldie.
Got to Goldie and I was like, all right then, so let's set up, because we took everything with us.
Yeah.
Like we owned all the equipment. We
Yeah.
never leased any of it. Dumbest idea ever. Anyway, we ripped it all out and we were going to open another shop here,
Yeah.
like straight away.
Mm.
And then Queensland went into lockdown, and then we were about to sign the lease for this place that's now a tattoo shop near Little Mermaid, like on Gold Coast Highway. And then it went into lockdown again, and Mum was like, "No, we're not signing the lease. We're not doing it."
Yeah.
And I literally said to her, I was like, "What do you mean? Like, this is my whole life. Like, what am I going to do with my life?"
Yeah.
She's like, "You're so young."
How old were you at the time?
This was 6 years ago. So what am I? I'm 31 now. I don't know.
26,
26,
26, yeah.
And I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, you know, this has been my life for the last 8 years or whatever, however long. And she's like, you'll figure it out. You figure it out. And I was so upset for like days. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing personal chefing. So when I first moved here, I was a personal chef, cooked for some like amazing people, you know, mainly like CEOs and entrepreneurs and all that kind of stuff, people that wanted like a private chef.
Yeah, I love that.
And I was obsessed until I had like 80 clients on rotation, like throughout 1 month. Like I was so busy.
What?
Yeah, dude, it was insane. It was insane. Like I was flat out. I would do like 5 houses a day. Like I was so tired, man, but I was making good cash.
Oh, of course you would.
Dude,
yeah.
it was amazing. But like I just got so tired and burnt out. Like I was giving, and I began to resent it all.
You began to resent the love that you had for cooking.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I began to resent it because it became like a chore.
Yeah, yeah.
I spent so much time at markets and like in, you know, supermarkets and then in kitchens, and I'm just like making all these meals and I'm just like, oh my God, like I hate this. And then at the time I was living in Miami, and my friend was like, he was a photographer, and he goes, this is how it all started actually. He's like, why don't you start like putting some of your stuff online, like your recipes? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just, you know, get my phone and just, he's like, nah. He's like, if you want to do it, he's like, do it properly. Like get a camera. I'm like, oh bro, $5,000 for a camera. Like I don't want to do that because I'm not sure if I'm serious about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did it. And then a few videos like went off, and then I was like, okay, I'll just keep doing that. And I kept, you know, doing the personal chefing. And then I was like, okay, I can't do both. So I started to increase my prices for the chefing. A few people dropped off. And then a few brands started reaching out and they wanted like recipes and things done. And I was like, okay, increase my prices again. And then I was like, okay, I'm making good money over here now. I should keep doing this. Tripled my prices. 2 people stayed on. So I was like, sweet. And then, then just got into like doing Instagram. Like I did that for like a couple of years just on the food page. And then like did work out like that page, because I was using a camera, people were requesting like good quality stuff. Cause you know, you see everyone use their phone. The fact that I like invested in a camera and good quality got me jobs outside of Instagram, like with Coles and Woolworths and things like that I didn't have to post, but because the quality was so good, they wanted it. So I'm like, okay, I'm onto something here. So then did that, and then I don't know where it kept going from there. I can't tell you. I don't know what happened.
Just went all in.
Yeah, just went all in.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a really big person here on the Gold Coast reached out, and they wanted like their meals and stuff done for their app, and that kind of like then became like a full-time thing for me. Yeah. And then it was at this point like I was in a relationship, and I don't know what happened, but like she wanted to move to Bali because again, like I loved Bali. Bro, I'm just going like everywhere with this conversation now. Hey, I'm like, what is even happening?
I can see you processing.
Bro, wow. Yeah, don't know.
Yeah, that's all right. the thing with cooking, like,
Cooking, yeah. Let's go back to that.
how did you know that was it? I know you went to top of the top of that sort of mountain in the Sahara, and you're like, I need to come back. I need to get into cooking. What is it about cooking? And when did you know, like, this is it? I know a beautiful story, like trying to figure out, your path in life. You're trying things and going, nah, that's not it. That's not it. What is it about cooking that you think, fuck, this is it? Is it that creativity side?
Right.
Is it like the freedom of expression? It's almost no rules or, barriers. You can cooking is just an open book. You can just do whatever. Like, it's endless recipes.
I'll tell you what I love about cooking, bro. It's like my meditation. I fully get into it. I love being super creative with it because, again, like you just said, but my favorite thing about cooking is cooking for other people.
Oh, right.
I love it when I've like put all my love and energy into a dish and then someone's eating it and just like watching them eat it. Like, that's my favorite thing in the world. Could just be
Really?
a simple like dipped chocolate strawberry, but then watching them eat it, fuck.
It's your drug, eh?
Bro,
Yeah.
it just lights me
Yeah.
up so much.
Yeah. I
Knowing
love
that like I've put everything into that and now you're consuming it.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing more liberating. That's what I love about cooking.
Really?
That's it.
The service to others.
Service to others.
Yeah.
I love pleasing others.
Yeah. Do you think it's like goes back to a little bit of that?
I think so.
Do you think so?
I think it does.
Just-
Again, being like,
Yeah.
but like I'm not attached to that anymore.
It's how you structure it, eh? It's how you view it. It's
Yeah.
like, I think we're all always going to live with some sort of, healing from some sort of, trauma, quotation trauma, because everything's different in what people think of trauma is. But, that people pleasing thing, you're almost using in a positive way where you love cooking, but then what you get out of it is like being a service to someone.
Yep.
And watching them enjoy good quality food.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that you were vegan.
Yep.
You're not now. What was the change? If you want to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing too serious, to be
Yeah.
honest. I just had a craving one day. I was vegan for 10 years.
Mm.
And then I was living in Bali at the time. That's a whole nother chapter of my life, which again is put me to where I am today. But yeah, I just had a craving for fish and I just listened to my body and had fish, and then I was just eating fish and then had chicken and then had a craving one day for meat, and then just that was it. There's no real like I got nothing to say.
Yeah.
When people ask me, they're just like, "Oh, that's it." I'm like, "That's it." I just listened to my body.
Body,
I don't know, like
you didn't feel attached to it, or you didn't feel like it was part of your identity being a vegan or anything like that. Was it hard to sort of like shred away that label?
that could also be something, hey, because like I've got vegan tattoos everywhere, like that was my whole identity. I built a whole personality off of being this vegan guy. I had long hair, like, do you know what I mean? Like
vegan cafe, like
everything.
You're the vegan guy.
The last 10 years,
Yeah.
that was me. And I don't know whether subconsciously I was like, oh, I'm so over this. Like I've been through a couple breakups and I was just like, oh, I just need to reinvent myself, or just what it was. But, like being vegan, it was amazing. But, you go out and it's limiting socially in terms of like, and this is nothing against being vegan at all, because like I still respect the community and everything like that. But when you'd go out, you can only have like a certain few things. Now, not being vegan, like I just feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders, and whether because I was holding on to something, of trying to be this person or whatever, now you go out to dinner and I can just have whatever I want and relax, and like, again, nothing against.
Yeah. No, well,
veganism at all.
my older brother's he was vegan for about 12 years. He went through the stage of sort of the animal cruelty, and he was sort of getting the family onto it. I think I was the only one in the family that that didn't budge.
Yeah.
But this, like, for me, I can't see animals. I'm a bit of a hypocrite in that way. Like, I'd rather be naive about it.
Yeah.
I can't see animals dying. I can't. I go out to work and you see like roadkill on the side of the road, like kangaroos and stuff. I can't look at it. Like, which is a hypocrite because I eat meat. Do you think there's enough space in the world for people, and I guess humans, to change their beliefs and their values? Like, I feel like there's so much pressure on, like, when you put a label on someone or something, that you have to be it for the rest of your life. And like when people change, it's like, you know, you're a traitor or, you know, something like that.
I mean, you can. Do you think what's it says? Said the question again.
Do you think there's enough space
Yeah.
in the world for humans to change
For
their
sure.
beliefs and values?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's always met with a bit of criticism, or
yeah,
you know,
I mean,
you're like this, you can't change because you've been like this for.
Well, do you know what? Like, and I actually put a post up about it today. Is that look, people are gonna judge you no matter what. People are gonna say stuff about you. They're gonna support you or they're not gonna support you. Like, no matter what you do in life. So just do whatever you want to do in life to a respect, as long as you're not intentionally hurting somebody or anything like that. But you should be able to do whatever. And that, again, comes with being comfortable with yourself and just owning and being not confident, competence. I don't know, there's like a line there. But just, of course, I think there is enough space. You just have to be willing to change, which a lot of people are too scared to change because of
fear of judgment.
Yeah. But it's also, it's uncomfortable. A lot of people stay in relationships or stay in jobs because it's the way it's been for ages.
It's your safe space.
It's your safe space. Yeah. But out of change comes the most amazing growth. It's uncomfortable for a while, but you then go to another level.
Are you comfortable in change?
I love change.
Do you?
I have this conversation with one of the girls that works with me, and she's like, how many lives have you lived?
It seems like you've lived a lot.
I'm like, I don't know, because I live in my own life. But when I look back, I'm like, holy, like I've done a lot, you know.
So many different things.
But a lot of it has stemmed from, whether it's like internal thoughts or just like relationships or,
Going back to what you just said then and fearing change and being comfortable in your own skin, how did you get to that point? Like, I know you obviously struggled and obviously the bullying at school and you seem like you're someone who's very sure of themselves. You know what you like, you know what you don't like. You know, even setting boundaries and setting standards are like, I'm not going to jeopardize who I am, you know, for certain things, for certain people, for certain situations. Like, I'm going to stay true to myself, and it's an amazing quality to have. But I'm thinking, like, you know, Jansen wasn't always like that when he was a kid. So how did you get to that point now in terms of your own personal development?
Bro, I think it's just a progression of things that have happened to me throughout my life. Things that haven't gone my way, or things that I have experienced that have like built up per se, and I've just like had enough. I'm now in a point where I'm just like, I actually don't care. Like, I'm not going to that dinner to sit at the table because I know that person's I'm not gonna do it. I'm not doing it, sorry. Like, I'm not doing anything that is not going to like, it's gonna make me feel a certain way that like I'm uncomfortable. Like, again, maybe that's contradictory. Like, I love change and whatever, but I don't want to be a certain level of uncomfortable. Like, if I don't want to be around that person, I'm not going to put myself in that situation to then go through that on purpose, knowing that I'm going to feel those emotions. I'd rather just not be there.
That negative.
Yeah, I don't want to be there. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's an accumulation of like breakups and things not going my way, where I've just now don't give a fuck.
Do you feel like you're very resilient?
I feel like I am.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Like, I definitely feel every time I go through something, I get stronger.
You do. Yeah.
Like, I don't want to keep going back to this whole breakup thing, but every breakup that I've been through, I've completely transformed, and just, I feel like I've
been a better version afterwards. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible, because breakups, breakups are the...
Oh, bro, like, put me through the absolute ringer. Like, I've only been in 2 serious relationships in my life, but both of them, like, when I love someone, I love hard. Like, I'm fully into it. And then when it's not happening anymore, like, I go in a downward spiral, and I'm so upset and just like, I can't believe it. But then when you view it after some time, that's why that had to happen. That's why, you know.
Are you always good at analyzing things? Because it seems like you're very switched on when it comes to like certain situations in life. You're very good at sort of thinking back and going, that happened because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been asked that question. Am I good at analyzing things? So I guess I am.
It seems like you are.
I guess I am. Yeah. I mean, I don't like to overanalyze though, because then you're just thinking about that too much. But like, I can view a certain thing and be like, oh, that's definitely why me and her, or like that business didn't work, or like I'm super glad.
I love that. It's a great quality to have.
Yeah. I don't like to hold on to stuff.
Yeah.
And back to what I said earlier, I never hate anybody. You know what I mean? Like, again, everybody's doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they had. You just weren't compatible.
When did you first realize that your mental health needed attention? I know it would probably go back to when you're sort of a young kid getting bullied at high school. What was your sort of knowledge around mental health then? Did you have feelings of depression and I guess how deep and dark did it get for you?
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to talk about it.
Yeah. The constant, like, the bullying and having to pine for this validation and acceptance up until when I was 16 was tough, you know, going through constant, like, getting beaten up and things like that. There was points where, and I don't share this often, but there was definitely points where I didn't want to be here. So I'm like, what's the point? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to be on this earth or this planet, but the thing that kept coming back to me was my mum's voice. Like, I can't explain it. I don't know, but like, her voice in the back of my head kept me going.
Was your driving force?
Was my driving force.
Yeah,
She's like, was and still is like my rock. You know, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be the person that I am.
Do you think that was your rock bottom during that time in your life?
100%.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of the sort of, you talked about your mum's voice, that was sort of your driving force. Was there anything practical that you're doing, maybe some tools and tips that you're sort of doing to help, get you out of those dark spots? I mean, your turning point was like, being expelled really was a massive turning point for you. Were anything else that you sort of dove into was, I don't know, either exercise or obviously eating healthy? I know you're a vegan at the time, but were any of those things that you sort of covered?
Definitely fitness. For me,
was it?
The way that I went down and that I still do to like release is through fitness. It was never like drugs or substances or things like that. Yes, I enjoy myself, but my way was always through running. Running for me changed my life.
Really?
Yeah.
In what way? I'm not I got mates that got run clubs down here and that sort of thing. And when I was playing rugby, all we did was run. And I remember when I stopped playing, I was like, I almost got burnt out from so much running.
Yeah,
when I stopped playing footy, I was just like, the last thing I'm going to be doing is running. I want to do other things. So I got into swimming and boxing and other avenues of fitness rather than just the running. What do you love about running?
For me, running is the only thing where I can actually switch off and just be with my own thoughts. No phone, no music, just like, that's it. My breath, I have to focus on that. And every time I've had some sort of feeling or a bad email or whatever it is, I go for a run. The first 30 minutes is like the hardest part ever because you're just processing. But when you break through that, for me personally, I just get like quiet, peace, noise. I'm just one with myself when I'm running. Running is the only thing that, because I'm also traveling, I'm like moving like with my legs out in nature. Like I like to go out to Currumbin Valley. For me, like that's like my de-stress, like get rid of anxiety disconnect because it's like I've got no phone on me. Just out there running. There's no connection to anything but my body, my thoughts, my mind.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Like in all your senses there, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're seeing, especially out in nature there. It's amazing. And that's the thing, like it seems like that's your form of meditation. I know a lot of people still are sort of struggling and going through certain things with their mental health. It's like when you say the word meditation, a lot of it's like we're in a chair like this or we're in somewhere, you know, and it's all quiet. And a lot of time when you're going through it, being in your own thoughts can be the hardest possible thing ever. And something that I sort of try to get through to people, it doesn't have to be, your form of meditation doesn't have to be what you see of meditation, sitting there in your own thoughts. It could be going for a run. Like mine is getting into the gym and doing an exercise, like doing a workout. That is like, I get the same feeling that you get. My brain switches off.
Yep.
All I'm focusing on is the present. I've got to lift this up and down.
Yep.
And then when I'm finished, when I'm leaving the gym and I'm driving home, it's about a 10, 15 minute drive home. That drive home is the most euphoric feeling. Going home after a workout, just going, fuck, like hell good. I'm looking around, I'm all present. I'm not worrying about what was happening in the past or dwelling over the future or anything like that. I'm looking around and actually being more present and going, fuck yeah, how good's life. And there's something that I sort of like to tell people. It's like, you got to find your own thing. Like my fiance at the time, she likes, you know, going to Pilates, or she likes, you know, taking the dog for a walk on the beach. Like that's her time that she gets to, you know, be at peace, be with her own thoughts, relax, do her own thing. And I think that finding your own thing is such a massive key to your own mental health, and not just trialing. Like you said, you've tried so many things in your life to find, you know, the shoe that fits. The same thing with your mental health. Like I think people try one thing and go, oh fuck, like, you know, this is going to be me forever. Whereas the skill is just keep trialing different things to help your mental health, and you'll get it one day. Like eventually you'll find that one thing that you go, oh yeah, this is it. This is what Jansen was talking about.
Yeah, exactly right. Find that one thing that works for you, and just then you have it for the rest of your life. Right, back to like the whole running thing though. Like when I moved here, I did a lot of crazy challenges and stuff, like running challenges and things like that.
What'd you do?
To raise awareness for mental health and suicide.
Love that.
But I also did that for myself because I wanted to go to the edge. Like I really wanted to punish myself, and I just wanted to suffer for like a certain period of time. So 2021, I did 100-mile around the Gold Coast, like through the whole, like everywhere. That was like 19 and a half hours of just like pure, I was struggling. That I break down in tears. Like anyone you ask who's done like ultra marathons and things like that will tell you like they're very, very emotional sort of things.
Yeah. And 90% mental.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Like I went into that injured, and it was just pure suffer. Yes, I was raising awareness and raising money in that, but I also, it was for myself too. I wanted to go to the dark. I wanted to go really, really deep. I really wanted to process. You know, when you asked me before about, you know, have you ever been to the dark, and like, oh, that's right there. You know, like I was trying to find that.
Why?
I just wanted to dig.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, like moving here as well, like I could reinvent myself again. Coming from Melbourne, nobody knew me here, but for some reason I still had thoughts of like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, like the validation.
You're still searching for something.
I was still searching for something. And then I did another one, like a year later, I did 250 Ks around a track, which was 625 laps. It's 31 hours of like pure like.
That's mental.
Yeah, pure mental, like in a circle. You know, I'd change directions every
just to mix it up.
12 and a half kilometers to mix it up, but also for your hips.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But that one was easier than the 100-mile one. I just got to a point, it was 24 hours. I think it was like 210 kilometers, and I was just over it. I just wanted to go home. And the next 30 or 40 kilometers were the hardest. But I used to do those, yes, to raise awareness, but I also used to do them because I wanted to go to a really dark place. I just wanted to be there. I wanted to be in the dark. I just wanted to shut everything off from the world. Again, that form of just like, nothing else matters but here right now, but like real heavy thoughts. And so many people ask me even still, they're like, oh, when's your next big challenge? When is it? I'm like, I don't need to do that anymore. Like, you know, yes, I was raising awareness, but I don't need to do those crazy challenges anymore, because right now in my life, I'm at a point where I'm focused on other things, and I'm a little bit I'm more happy than what I was back then, even though I was viewed as this like happy guy and all this shit. Internally, I probably wasn't. Now I don't do that stuff anymore because I don't need to. You know what I mean?
What did you learn about yourself during those real dark when you're in the hurt locker? You want the pain.
I wanted it.
What did you learn about yourself?
I just learned, like, I guess, like, going through all of that, like, my whole life was like cycling through, like I was getting flashbacks of like when I was a child or the bad things that happened to me. Like, what did I learn? How like resilient and like strong I actually am, that I can push through those barriers and just keep going. Like, I have a very, very strong like mindset, and that's come from when I was a kid, whether that was because I was pining to like be someone or be accepted. Like, I have pure determination, you know, like if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to go and do it. You know, I'm just one of those guys. Like, I'll never set a challenge and not complete it.
Yeah, I love that, because that's what I did. I felt the same thing. I had a mate who did the Gold Coast Marathon a couple of years ago. And when I stopped playing footy, I didn't realize that I hadn't had a challenge. Nothing was driving me. Nothing was pushing me to my limits. And I thought I needed the break from footy. Like, when I stopped playing, I was just like, oh, it'd be so good to relax. And then, you know, a year went by and I'm like, fuck, I don't feel like I'm being driven, or I'm not feeling I'm being pushed to my limits, or I'm not being that competitive side. Like, nothing's driving me. And then I watched my mate, two of my good mates, run the Gold Coast Marathon, and just watching them, you know, train for it, and they got a really good time, and I was at the finish line, and just to see them accomplish something that they had trained for and worked so hard for, and I was looking around, I was like, fuck, like, what have I done since I stopped playing? Like, what have I actually done? Something that's pushed me physically and mentally. So I was like, I'm the same with you. Like, I went through this, you know, I decided, you know, when I was about 30, I decided that I had a real bad habit of saying things and not following through. And it really pissed me off, because I didn't keep myself accountable. And I was like, made an absolute like line in the sand. The next day I was like, if I'm going to say something, I'm doing it. And I told my fiance Jordan, I was like, oh, just letting you know, we were taking the dog for a walk on the beach, and I was like, oh, just letting you know, at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'm running up to Noosa. And she's like, what? and I'm like, I'm running up to Noosa tomorrow, and I'm also running back. And she's like, that's like 73 Ks or something. I'm like, yeah. She's like, you hate running. I was like, I know. That's why I'm doing it, because I fucking hate it. And I was like, I didn't train for it. I think the furthest I ran was 5 Ks, was the furthest up to that point.
What?
All my mates were like, what are you doing? And I was like, nah, well, that's the reason. Like, I didn't want to train for it because I didn't want it to be hard. I didn't want it to be easy. I wanted to put myself, same as you, I wanted to put myself in the absolute pain.
Yep.
And my thing that was haunting me throughout my childhood was, despite the sort of the levels I got to playing footy and the teams I made and sort of how my career sort of progressed, which was, if you're sort of looking from the outside in, you would think, oh, that's a great sort of, you know, time playing rugby. But for me, I felt like I didn't fulfill my own potential. I always felt like I half-assed a lot of things. I felt like I was a big quitter. I'd always just do the bare minimum to seem like I'm putting the effort in, when deep down I was like, I left so much in the tank. Like, through my whole rugby days, even playing days, like I was always like, fuck, I left so much out there. Like, I could have been a lot more. I could have done a lot more. What was the fear? Like, there was always a fear of like success or succeeding or something like that. So my big thing was like, I'd always quit. So I'm going to go for this fucking run. No training, nothing. And my goal was to not quit. I don't care how long it took. I don't care how my body was afterwards. My whole goal was just to not quit. I wanted to put myself through the hurt locker and not quit. So I got up to I started well, got up to like Coolum, like 20 Ks, and like got up to Noosa Surf Club, like proper hurting. Probably didn't have good running shoes either. Like ankles are hurting, like knees are hurting.
Running in Vans.
Yeah, Dunlops and stuff. And then got there, I was like, Jordan, meet me up there. So she had like bananas and hydrolytes and stuff. And she was like, you can get in the car and I'll just drive you home. And I'm like, I know that, but I got to do it. Like I got to get home. Like I will never forgive myself if I quit now, because it would just be a theme throughout my whole life that I'll quit when it gets hard, or I take the easy road when it gets hard, and I fucking hated that. And like even me thinking about me being a father, like I don't want to quit when things get hard, and I want to be an example for my kids that to push through it. So I remember like going back, and there's a point at Noosa Hill where you can it goes up over the ocean, you can see over the trees, and you can see across the coast to where my house is. And it's like, and I wish I didn't see it, because I remember coming up over the hill just going, fuck, I have so much longer to go. And I remember like, my knees were failing, my ankles, and I realized like if I stopped and went again, like if I stopped for a rest and went again, the pain would be like through the roof. So I was like, I can't stop, because it's going to be more pain. So I was just like hobbling, and I got my phone on me, and Jordan's like calling me, and she's like, where are you? Like, it's 8 o'clock at night. Like, it's taking you ages. Where are you? I'll come pick you up. I was like, no. Like, promise you, I'm all good. Like, I'll see you at home. And I remember like getting to a point where it was just like me and my own thoughts. And it was just like, you going to do it? Are you going to quit? Are you going to fucking quit? And it was almost like what you said before, that form of punishment. Like, you fucking deserve to go through this because you've quit throughout your whole life. And if you didn't quit throughout your whole life, who knows where your life could have ended up. But you deserve to go through this because you've quit so much during your whole life. You deserve to go through this punishment. And I honestly felt like that. And I remember like getting to the finish line, walking the house, like Jordan's like walking behind me. She's like shaking her head. She's like, I was like, have you got the ice bath ready? She's like, yeah, I got the ice bath ready. Like laid in the ice bath, like my ankles were swollen, my knees were swollen. And I remember like laying in the ice bath, which was a crazy like thought to have. I remember laying there going, I could have done more. Even though like I was in so much pain, I was like, I wonder if I could have hobbled another 100 meters or another 200 meters. Like what's my limit? And now like the days following, like I couldn't walk for a week. Like I couldn't even go to work. Like my body was screwed. All the boys were just like, yeah, mate, like you're an idiot. But what it did was it shifted the goalposts for me, like where I thought I was capable of. And going back to what you said, you're doing those fucking crazy runs. It's like we limit ourselves so much to what we think we can achieve in life. And it's not until you do these things and like I was down here, what I think I could achieve physically, mentally, like that was mentally easily the hardest thing to overcome was that run, the inner thoughts and the inner demons that were going through my head. But the next day I was just like, well, the weeks that followed, I'm healed. My body's fine. Like I've gotten stronger from it. And I'm thinking, man, like I used to think what I could capable of was here. And what I've just done is just shifted the goalpost. And now I'm like, man, like I've shifted it up here. And then at the same time, I'm thinking in that moment of pain, I'm thinking I could have done further. And it's crazy. Like I heard Ned Brockman talk about it when he finished he was doing some insane race around the track. I don't know how, he was running for about a couple of days or something. It was ridiculous. And I heard him say that humans are way more capable of things than we, give ourselves credit for.
Yeah.
We can achieve so many things, yet we live life in the comfort, in the safe zone, in our happy place. And that real growth, that real development and how we evolve as humans is like going through the uncomfortable hurt and the pain, and we put ourselves through. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned and takeaways from that. If I can do that, and I hate running. So if I can accomplish that on something that I fucking hate, what can I do with something that I love? And that's like sort of my driving force now is like knowing what I'm capable of. It's like I'm up here. What can we do with this podcast? Something that I absolutely love. How far can I take this?
Yeah.
How much energy and focus and pain and, late nights and hard work and all those things that come with your passion, how far can I take that?
I still can't believe you're in the ice bath thinking you could.
Jordan was
how
like,
much longer could I have gone?
Yeah, Jordan was like, mate, you can't walk. And I was like, yeah, but I could have. I could have. I reckon I could have. And it's crazy because that was my finish line was the house, because going back straight through my front door. And I remember thinking, man, like, what if my house was another 200 meters away? Could I have made it back to the house then? What if the house was a K away? Do you reckon I could have made it back to the house? Like, it's just that crazy thought of like, maybe am I chasing something unattainable? Am I chasing that, like, am I enough? Is it going to be enough? You know, when does it start sort of getting a little bit negative when you're constantly going, oh, I think there's more in me? But I always think to like Ned Brockman, what he said, that there's always more in us. Like
there is.
There's so much more in us that, you know, than we actually believe.
Yeah. And with that as well, the people that you surround yourself with constantly, they have a picture, and this is back to when you were talking about change. Everybody has this picture of who you are and who they think you are. So the moment that you change into something that they haven't seen before is when they're like, oh, you're not meant to be that person now. I know you like this, even like parents and things like that. You're this, you can't do that. You're not meant to do that. And a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll just go back to the box.
Your lane.
You're defined by people's perception of you.
Their own limits.
Their own limits, But then also it depends how strong your mind is. Like the thoughts that you tell yourself will impact how you show up in life. Your limiting beliefs, again, what you were talking about with, could I have gone another 200? You probably could have. Yeah.
It's crazy. And like, what are some of the things that you're working through now still with your sort of own mental health, with your own triggers, your own beliefs? I know you just spoke then about your own thoughts. They obviously translate into your actions and your beliefs and how you view the world, how you view yourself.
Yeah.
What are some things that you're working through still?
I'm not ashamed to admit it, but like I still have, weeks where like I cry every week, like some days things get overwhelming, or I have imposter syndrome in terms of like the business that I've built now over the last 8 months. Why are people paying for my services? How have I reached this point? I still have those thoughts, but I'm like, I don't sit in it too much for it to have an impact, but I still have them every single day. Like I still battle every single day, and I'm like, oh, am I going to be alone forever? You know what I mean? Like, why didn't that work? Why didn't that work? And I'm like, you know what? Every time I look for something, I find the wrong thing. So I'm just going to stick to doing my own thing. But as you would know, when you're building your own thing, it can get very lonely. It's just you and like, you've got some support in the background, but it's your dream, it's your vision, it's your goal. And like, it can get lonely when you're just daily, churning the wheels until you're like, when is this actually gonna,
when's the break?
When's the break?
Yeah.
How's old mate driving a Lambo over there? Like, what don't I know? Do you know what I mean? Not that that's like what I want, but it's like,
that comparison sort of sneaks in a little bit, doesn't it?
That's the thing with social media. Hey, like I have a love-hate relationship.
Do you do?
With social media. Like I love it because it's a great platform where I can share, but I have actually stopped, and not all the time, but stopped looking at people's stories, especially my close friends, because I find that when I catch up with them, I'm like, I already know everything. I'd rather not look.
And have something to chat about.
And actually have something to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So social media is such a fickle thing. And like before I had the podcast, I didn't have any social media. I got rid of it because I was in a really dark space with my mental health that it was becoming extremely toxic for me. That, what do they say? The comparisons are the thief of joy. And like when I was in a really bad headspace, I was always on there thinking, why am I not feeling like that? Like, why can't I be like that? And obviously in those sorts of moments, you just spiral out of control even more. So I got out of it, deleted it all. And when I chat to mates that are going through sort of issues with their mental health, that's one of the first things that I suggest is just get rid of it. Like when you're in a bad headspace, you don't need it. There's no reason for you to have it unless you've got a business going, but even then it can be really hard. So when I first got the podcast, obviously I got all the social media for it. First I'm having it back in a few years, and it was tough, man. Like it was really hard to, like you said, you're a content creator, you got your own business. It's you've got to put the time and energy into posting, into doing the content stuff. And for me, that was a battle. Like, it was honestly a battle to get into that rhythm and routine. But also, I value everyone's opinions, and everyone's different. Like, everyone, like we spoke about before, everyone's brought up in a different environment with different parents and different circumstances and situations. They view the world differently. So I love that about my audience, and I encourage people to have different opinions. And if they disagree, then that's fine. And I don't want a world where everyone agrees with what I say or what I do. Or I love that everyone's different opinions, but at the same time, I get super rattled. Like, if I'm being honest with you, like, when people comment on certain videos and have especially with mental health related things, people have their very strong opinions on how it should be treated or how people should be handled in those situations. And I don't think it's like a one brush, fits all type of thing. I think it's, it's very broad. I don't think it's, one thing fits everyone when they're going through mental health. And I've had some people comment on certain videos and comment on certain episodes, and like, I used to get really down about it. I used to live for the people saying it's great, and I used to get down about people saying it's shit, and it was just a roller coaster, and that used to affect how I would go about episodes, go about people coming on. Of like, how do I just want to be liked by everyone? I just want everyone to enjoy my stuff, and it got to a point where I was like, I read Rick Rubin's book, and he's obviously a famous music producer, and he talks about when he's creating songs with his artists, he said something like, the audience comes last. He goes, you never set out to make a song for the audience, because it will end up sounding something that's not you, and it won't be authentic, it won't be genuine, it will just be something that people go, oh, yeah, I guess that's kind of cool. And he talks about it being your art form. And I was like, well, I think I need to take that philosophy onto the podcast and think that this is my art form. This is what I love. I'm talking to people that I genuinely want to talk with. We're chatting about things that are actually meaningful for me. If the audience or some people in the audience don't agree with that, then, like I said, that they come last. Yeah. I don't want to have people on the podcast, or I don't want to be talking about things just at the back of my mind thinking this is what the audience likes, because it won't feel genuine. And I think when people are watching it, like when we watch stuff that doesn't feel genuine, we can tell instantly. We can tell straight away. Yeah. So I don't want the audience to feel like that when they sort of watch our episodes, when they watch our conversations. And I think that's been, the biggest learning curve for me is almost ignoring the good and the bad. I know, like, I'll read the comments, I'll respond as respectful as I can, all the messages that come through. Mostly it's always positive, but I can't like attach my self-worth or my identity to what people think about the podcast, because you can just live a life of like a roller coaster, ups and downs. So it's been a tricky process, and I still am battling through it at the moment, to be honest with you. Like, there was a couple of comments that happened a few weeks ago where I don't know if people just like to comment just to get a reaction, or they comment just because they can, or they think they should have an opinion, or I think it's maybe a reflection of how their life is going. That they just want to express sort of maybe their anger or frustration, or no one's hearing them, so they just want to like send a comment through so people can be seen, or whatever it is. But yeah, that's a battle that I'm sort of going through. I'm getting better at sort of not attaching my feelings or emotions to, mate. It is hard
because you again with what you're saying. Yes, it's all got to do with their internals. Like anything anyone ever does or says is a projection of what's going on inside. It actually has nothing to do with you. And there's a quote that I heard, and it's like, if you get to a point in your life, I don't know who said it, if you get to a point in your life where you don't take anything personally, you've reached this level of like euphoric self-being.
Yeah.
Like imagine getting to a point, and do you know how hard that actually is? Because you can say that you're there, but guaranteed you're not. There's comments that people can say in different settings that will still play in on your mind, no matter how good you are at switching things off, which is so crazy, which is why I like to be careful with again, who you surround yourself with and like what you're listening to and what you're consuming, because you never know when something you've watched last week plays in while you're trying to work and you're like, holy shit, that comment's just like destroyed me.
Yeah, it's
You know what I
circling
mean?
in there. Yeah.
So clear. And you didn't think anything of it when you were consuming it. But yeah, if you can get to a point, it's like that's really hard.
Have you set boundaries within yourself with your own social media, like in terms of, you know, either reading comments or how often you're on it? You know, it can be very consuming when it is your job.
Yeah.
Have you had to set boundaries just to have some sort of, you know, balance in your life?
Yeah. I definitely like I said, I consume less than I create now.
Yeah.
Like I go on there for ideas, but because I run like multiple different pages and stuff as well, like I'm constantly like looking at ideas or like seeing what other people are doing in terms of like in the same niche, or do you know what I mean? Like trying to get inspired.
Rather than the old doom scrolling.
Yeah. I never just scroll just to like, oh, that's funny. I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea. Because I'm in editing and film and stuff as well, like video. I'm always looking for like ways people are doing stuff, like, oh, I could implement that, or I should try that, or how can I learn that? Like I'm not on there just to like scroll.
You're on there to get better.
I'm on there to learn it and get better. And I constantly am like, oh, I'll click that link, and then I end up in YouTube, and then I'm here on someone's website. I'm like, fuck, how did I get here? And then you go back to Instagram, and you're like, oh, right, next.
You grew up in a. You said you grew up in a, you know, quite feminine household.
Yeah.
Your dad wasn't around.
Yeah.
What's your view on masculinity now? Like, yeah, it's a bit of a deep topic nowadays, where, you know, the term toxic masculinity comes into. For someone that didn't grow up with a father figure, a father role, what's your view on it? How do you see masculinity?
I feel like there's a lot of guys out there that suppress everything, and then again want to be like the man and to do this and do that, kind of like what I was as a kid. Like I was trying to do that, but if you just accept, you know, you are who you are, and just like be like, if you are emotional, be emotional. Like just stop caring what other people like. Don't try and be something for someone else. Like imagine trying to be someone else for 365 days of the year. Like how hard would that be? Like just show up as you. And I know it's extremely hard for like a lot of people to do, but yeah, again, if you can get to a point where you don't care what anybody else thinks, and I'm not there all the time, like sometimes like I have thoughts, but if you can live majority of your life on your own terms for yourself, like you're going to be happier. And in terms of toxic masculinity, back to your question, I don't really know. Like I know there's,
it's such a topic with, I guess, young boys now, and you know, kids going through, you know, puberty, and like who to sort of look up to, and you know, it could be. I don't think masculinity in itself is toxic. I think the person is toxic, and they're bringing their own, I guess, egos into it, their own values, what they. You know, I think social media in itself can be such a damaging thing to young boys, and misguiding them into thinking like what a man should be.
100%.
You know, and like that feeling of like, you know, being soft or being feminine is a weakness, and it's absolutely not at all. And I think that's like that thing was like, boys can't cry, men can't cry, right? And you proudly said then, like, there's some weeks where you're just like, I need to let it out.
Full on.
You know?
You should.
And that's one of the healthiest possible things, is to not suppress any of your emotions. And if you need to cry, you need to cry. And I went through years of going through really dark times with my mental health, where there was a blockage with my emotions, where I actually couldn't cry. And I was like, what? Something must be wrong with me that I can't cry. There was a blockage there. And once I, you know, done a bit of the inner work and realized what was happening with me, that it just stemmed through my childhood and things that I carried on, and things it sort of snowballed into the person that I was. Once I removed that blockage, I remember like crying and thinking, how good's this? Like, it felt great. It honestly felt great that I was so in touch with my emotions, where if I felt sad or felt I could cry, I would. Whereas before, if I felt like I could cry, I just couldn't do it. I just fucking didn't have it in me to do it. But now, like, when things get sad, I have that ability to actually recognize it and be like, yeah, that's fucking, crying's fine.
I think it's one of the healthiest things to come to that realization, but also to allow yourself to just pull over, you know, and just let it out. Because bottling things up are never, or shoving them under the rug are never it's never the answer, because it's just a build up.
The build up, isn't it?
Know? But again, people are too afraid.
Yeah.
To
what
really, they're too afraid to be uncomfortable to meet themselves with those thoughts, so they just block it out and go back to the job. Like, people are scared, and it's scary when you first do it, because it's just you and your emotions and your thoughts, and like it's scary, as you can admit. Like, you know, you're like, oh my God, like a wave and rush of emotions feeling all over your body, but I love it. I'm like, oh, get it out. Let me feel it. Because how cool is it to feel angry, to feel sad, to feel upset, to feel happy? We get to feel all these things as humans. How blessed are we?
So true. I couldn't put it better, because when you're going through it, I felt numb. I felt emotionless to everything. And I was just like, now it's just like, oh, how privileged are we that I get to feel all the emotions. I'm so in touch and blessed with everything that I can feel anger.
Yeah.
You know, I can feel complete joy, I can complete sadness, I can feel excited, I can, you know, all these emotions that come up. It's just like I have access to it now, whereas before I didn't have any access to it. And like you go back to, you said, it's so confronting. It can be so scary that the easiest thing for us to do is ignore it. It's just to boil it down. And I honestly think it goes back to that generation that we grew up in, that, you know, I've had my dad on the podcast, and that generation, you know, I'm broadly speaking, that generation was brought up on obviously tough, hardworking, resilient people that maybe the emotional side of dealing with those sorts of thoughts wasn't at the forefront as it is now. I guess mental health back then wasn't, you know, something that was spoken about as much as it is now. And like something I've spoken to my dad, he's just like, we would never, like, that wasn't even a thing, like him growing up, to talk about that sort of thing, or to acknowledge that could be, you know, something that we're struggling with. Whereas now, like, he's 70. I have great chats with him now about the mental health side of it, and like how he was as a dad. And he talks about it. He's like, yeah, I never really sort of, that emotional side of it, like that just wasn't, you know, a part of their upbringing, a part of their knowledge. And what you said is just like, they're doing the best they can with the knowledge that they have. And you can't blame them. You can't sort of resent them for it. It's just, they did the best they can with what they had. Yeah. But what I love about now is this generation coming through is just like, I think we're all a bit more in touch and aware with our emotions and our feelings, and bit more open to the uncomfortable conversation that's going to follow. And I actually can't wait to have those sorts of conversations with my kids that maybe I didn't have when I was a kid, and trying to like, just, you know, there's certain things from your childhoods that, you know, my dad came from extremely violent and abusive childhood that, you know, he wanted to change a few things, you know, and the three things that were so important to him to change when he was a father was no alcohol, no drinking, and no violence in the household. So like in my household, it was complete peace and happiness and that sort of thing. But what missed out was the emotional connection, like the chatting with your kids and actually understanding sort of what they're going through, and having that open dialogue about the anxieties of being a kid, and maybe falling into that people pleasing or that external validation. Those sorts of conversations just weren't around. But at the same time, like, I love who I am today. Like, I love the person I am. I wouldn't, like, I tell dad, sort of, mum and dad go, oh, we should have done this when we're, you know, we should have done this, we should have done that. Like, I wish we did this with you guys. I'm like, mum, dad, like, I love who I am. I love my childhood. I wouldn't go back and change anything in my childhood, because I actually really love my childhood. Yeah, there were some things that sort of affected me in ways that sort of had a negative effect on me at that time. But the way I look at it now, I'm a much stronger person for it. I love the perspective I have on life because of those hard times. So I was like, Mum, Dad, I wouldn't change anything from my childhood. I would just learn from it. And how do I implement that with my kids? And each generation, you can always just, if you just try to pick 2 or 3 things to improve, each generation will just keep moving forward and keep getting better.
Yeah, 100%. You got to learn from everything. Nothing's ever a mistake.
Yeah.
Everything always happens the way it's meant to happen. Because, again, accept, like, the biggest thing I would always say to people is just accept that that's how it happened, rather than expect So accept over expect. Because the moment that you try and be like, oh, it should have been like, just forget it.
You're
going
lost.
to be disappointed and you're lost.
Yeah, exactly. What's your purpose? What's your passion now? Is it still creating content? Is it still cooking? Like I absolutely love I love your page. Like it's so unique.
Yeah.
It is. Like I don't know if you're familiar with Andy Cooks. He came on the podcast.
Oh, sick.
He's from the sunny coast. Absolute legend, and like he talks about sort of his break and how it all sort of like in space of 2 years he went from not having a job in Melbourne, being a chef, to, you know, pretty much creating online cooking for a living now.
Yeah.
And he talks about it and how like the power of the internet is just absolutely insane. Like the reach that has, and how that's sort of changed his life. And and his unique sort of take on you know, his page and what he does. It's like similar, like when you watch your video, you know it's you. Not just because you're in it, but just the way, the style of it, how you speak in it. Like I love that you stuff up in it. Like,
I love it.
It's so relatable that like you'll spill something, or you'll be like, oh fuck, that's shit, and like you like chuck that out, or you put something in the oven, there's already something in there, you're like, oh fuck, I didn't know that was in there. Like I love that about you, and I love that. I think that's, you've like, obviously, you know, you've been in the business, like the secret sauce is that being authentic, being genuine. Like that's what people connect to. People don't connect with being perfect.
Yeah.
Like people don't want perfect. I know like perfect is something that we strive for, but people like the, you know, the rough edges. They love that.
It's relatable.
Relatable. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I think to your question, the one thing that I'm scared of is being like average. Like I think that also like stems maybe from like being worthy and whatever, but the reason why I do what I do is because I never want to be just a normal, like what the hell is normal anyway? Like I guess I get inspired by the fear of being average. Like I don't want to be, I know I never will be. Like I'm an extra person. Like I'll sit at a cafe. I'm loud. Like I am not scared. Like I'm not that like quiet people are scared, but like I am like who I am. Like you meet anybody and you ask, you know, I'm just who I am. Like I'm loud. I don't care. Like, you know, I've gone through that. Like I've come out on the other side. I don't know. I just never want to be, I'm always striving for more and more and more and more. Like I never just want to be, you know, even though I look at what I have now and the business that I've built, I'm like more like I you know what I mean? Like I'm not content.
Yeah.
I want to be able to help more people, or I always, you know, I feel like that's sometimes a blessing and a curse, because you're like, I want more, but I'm not happy with what I have. But do you know what I mean? Like,
100%. It's like what I love about you is you're unapologetically yourself. Like you don't make any apologies. You're like, I am who I am.
Nah.
I love who I am. There were times that I hate myself.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go back to that anymore. Like there's no other way but apart from loving yourself and embracing that. Yeah, you are loud. You're different. You know, you got some good tattoos. You got some like cooking tattoos, like food tattoos. Like you are who you are, and I love that when people meet you, they go, man, he's not like anyone else I've ever met before. And it's so common to meet people, and that we all just are sheep. We all follow the same crowd. We all do the same things. And when you meet someone genuine and like an individual, and someone who's real, you go, fuck, they stand out. And I'm like, well, we all should stand out. We're all different. But for some reason, society's formed us into doing the same thing, dressing the same way, talking the same way. And it's weird when you meet someone that like is their own self, their own body. You go, fuck, they stand out, don't they?
But some people get scared of that. Some people see that and they're like, oh.
Intimidated by it.
They're intimidated. And it's like, do you know what? I actually don't care. Like, I am who I am. And not everybody's going to like me. Not, you know, some people are going to not like me because they're just not. That's not going to change how I act around them. I'm just going to be me. I'm not going to go into a little box because that's your perception and like you're afraid of. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it can also like touch parts of themselves that they're afraid of. Maybe
100%. It's a reflection. Like we're going back. It's a reflection of who they are. Maybe the things that they haven't addressed. Internally, that sort of you bring up in them. But going back to sort of your passion and sort of moving forward with life, like where does it? I know where's the ceiling. I know you said there's, you know, you're always striving for more. Is it, you know, is it more success? Is it more feelings or fulfillment? Is it what is more for you, do you think?
For me, like I'm in a very good position, and I always look at my life because people make comments and they're like, oh wow, you live such a great life. And I'm like, yeah, well, I built this life. Like I get to travel for work. Like I'm overseas all the time. I have freedom. I can do, whatever I want sort of thing. Where is the ceiling? I don't know. Like right now I'm building Hype Media, which is my media company, and just decided to focus on construction, just narrow down on that niche, like because my mentor was like, you just need to focus on one area. Like this is actually the first time in my whole life where I've been like, okay, I'm just like focusing on one thing rather than 10 things. I still do a little bit of Instagram and things like that. Like I just do that for fun and whatever. But like my main focus is Hype Media and growing that. And in the last 9 months, since I've actually fully focused, like I've seen the business go from like nothing all the way to like where it is now. Incredible. Like people working for me and like it's wild. Wild. Yeah. But it makes sense because the most successful people in the world, what do? They just focus. Like the ability to focus on one thing is so hard. In a life now where we're surrounded by distractions, by notifications, by all these different things, the ability to focus on one thing and do that one thing well. You go to a burger shop, they don't serve you Chinese food. You go there for a burger. Business, podcast is the same thing. We don't come on here and talk about eggs. You know what I mean? You may if you want, I don't know.
I don't know if you're into eggs.
You like eggs?
Eggs are good.
Eggs are good. Love eggs. I actually love eggs. But do you know what I mean?
100%. Like, and how have you dealt with focusing on one thing? Was it a struggle at the start? Are you better at it now?
I'm much better at it now. Like, honestly, yes, it was a struggle at the start because, again, like I'm a big people pleaser. Like I like to serve, and anytime people would be like, oh, can you, film this for me or do this? I'm like, yeah, I can do it. Now I'm just like, no, like I'm not, I just do this or like, this is my price. Like that's how much I charge. I can't help.
You're setting standards.
You know what I mean? Otherwise I'm just like, I'm working for free. Like I can't do that anymore. And that attains another level of respect as well. People are like, oh, okay, I respect that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. We've got some quick fire questions to finish off. It's getting close to 2 hours.
Let's go.
Some quick fire questions. So you can answer these as quickly or as long as you wish.
I like to talk, so.
I know, and you can talk as much as you like. What are your 3 non-negotiables for living a healthy and full life?
My 3 non-negotiables for living a healthy and full life would definitely be a clean diet. 80-20 rule, I don't label food as good or as bad because I know your mind is your second gut. So if you're eating, for instance, chocolate and you're like, oh, this is a treat, it's going to digest differently. So I don't label foods anymore since not being vegan. Like I don't label anything as good or as bad or that's a treat or I'm on a diet or I can't have this, I can't have that. I don't like that mentality. Everything is available all the time. Fitness, like movement is key. We have legs, we have arms, we have a moving body. As humans, we should be moving all the time, whether it's walking. Like I don't like sitting down, even though I've been sitting down for 2 hours. Like I like to move around a lot. I don't know if you've noticed. But I feel like, making the most of, I think again, that I appreciate being able to have legs and arms. Some people don't have that, so I feel grateful that I can move every single day. So I do that every single day, whether that's walking, whether that's running, training, whatever it is. So food, not labeling anything as good or bad, movement, and then also things for your mind. Like I like to read to completely switch off because again, we are surrounded by so many distractions and my life is online and I'm on devices all day long. I need something that I can get away from all that sort of stuff, and a book in a sauna or just in my room, whether it's something that I'm learning about, I like self-development or I like fiction, or it's non-fiction, whatever it is, I like to just sit there and read and absorb, and learn. So those would be my 3 things.
I love that. What's the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice Jansen has ever received is live life on your own terms.
Who gave you that?
Well, one of my good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
I never forget it. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
Live life on your own terms. People are going to judge you no matter what. So just be yourself.
How have you defined success?
Success for me, my metric is happiness. Happiness and peace.
What's the difference?
Happiness is, I feel like you should be doing things that light you up, that you actually enjoy more often than the things that you don't. For instance, like if you're in a job that you don't like and it's not making you happy, yeah, you're making money, but like why? Why are you going to a job that you hate?
Yeah, you're sacrificing your happiness just for a bit of coin.
Yeah. And peace as well. The peace is like, I am a sort of person that I love my own company. I can sit at a table. I can travel around the world by myself and have dinner on my own. Like I love being alone. I learn more about myself. I do learn when I'm in other situations with people, but I guess my form of like recharging and things like that, you know, some people are like social, their batteries like light up when they're with other people. Like, yeah, mine do. Like, and I love being around people, but when I want to recharge, like I retreat, I go to myself and like, you know, regather and recharge my batteries, plug myself into the wall, you know?
Yeah, I love that. Who's your hero?
My hero is, I'm never going to reach it. It's myself, like in the future. And it's like what Matthew McConaughey says, but like it's me in 10 years. Like my hero, I don't look to anybody. I look to myself because I am myself. I'm not trying to be like anybody else. I'm trying to be who I am and a better version of myself every single day. As cliche as it is, like if I'm better than I was yesterday, I'm happy. But I'll never be my hero because I'm always chasing more.
Yeah, I love that. And that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't have to be massive changes every day. If you're 1% better every day, you know.
That's it. We're so hard on ourselves.
We are. I think we
humans.
expect so much from ourselves that like when we make change or we want to be better at things, it's like you pick something up or you want to start a new hobby. It's just like, I want to be the best at it, or I want to make all this change. It's just like, read 1 page a day in a book, you know, and before you know it, you've read the book. You know, people just you don't overestimate how much change you can make over a year. You know, just small increments over a year, rather than just trying to make these massive, elaborate, you know, plans or changes in your life. Is just start small and be consistent.
People underestimate what they can do in 5 years and overestimate what they can do in 12 months.
Yeah, 100%.
Everything takes time. And again, the one thing that I've always learned is don't try and change everything at once, or like get a new skill or a new hobby and, like you just said, do 5 things at once, because then you'll become overwhelmed and stressed and it's exhausting. Do one thing and do it good.
What brings you the most joy and fulfillment now?
The most joy and fulfillment is, I just love, again, like I love seeing people happy because of things that I've done.
That service to others.
To others. I don't think they'll ever leave me. Like I love making people happy. Yeah, I love making myself happy, but whether it's a video I've created or a food, like it's simple, but that's what I like.
If you could go back to a time in your life, where would you go and why? That mountain in Sahara.
I think if I could go back to a time in my life, it would be to tell my younger self that it's all going to work out.
I love that.
Everything's
going to be okay.
Going to be okay.
Is that what your younger self needed at that time?
I think so. Deep down inside, like I think, yeah.
What's one thing you wish people understood about you?
Getting deep here. What's one thing I wish people understood about me? It's a hard question. I don't know if I wish, like, there's a certain thing that people understood about me because it's a certain way that I am. I think that question it's very layered. Like, it's a great question, but I feel like that could also connect to then me thinking or worrying about what other people think of me, and like, oh, I wish they would understand that about me. I actually don't.
You don't care about being understood.
Not really.
I love that.
I just am unapologetically myself. Like, if you're not going to understand me or you're not on my wavelength, that's fine. That's a layered question, but I feel like that's my answer.
Yeah, I love that. One of my questions was what advice would you give that 11-year-old Jansen back in the day? But I think you've already said that. Everything's
going to be okay. And tough times never last.
Tough people too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. What's one question I didn't ask you that I probably should have?
I think you covered a very good basis.
I did?
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
You've done a pretty good job. I feel like we flowed very well. It wasn't like interview style. It was just more just having a conversation.
Is there any questions for me?
Why? What's the meaning behind what you do here and like mind your head? Like, what's the meaning behind that?
It's layered. It's I stopped playing rugby because I had too many concussions. I started to really spiral, and I think it was a mixture of my own depression that I was going through as well. But I think it got brought to light because of the concussions I was going through, that I had to go through a couple of brain scans and go through a lot of testing and figure out my mood swings. And because of that, it almost forced me to deal with my own shit that I've been neglecting my whole life. I had feelings of depression, anxieties from the ages of 16, I can remember, and just like thought it was something that I was going to grow out of, thought it was something that all kids went through, thought it was normal, thought it was like, all right, well, this is what everyone feels like. I won't think much of it. And then you got to 18 and it's sticking around. And then you got to, I remember I was in the army, I got out of the army, and one of my first trips was over to Canada, and with all my best mates in the entire world, and we're in Canada, we're drinking, having fun, and all of a sudden I had this wave of sadness and like a cloud went over me, and I was just so deeply depressed and uncomfortable, and I was just sitting there with all my best mates drinking. I'm thinking, why am I so fucking sad for? And I didn't say anything to anyone. I didn't let it on, and then it lasted for about 30 seconds, maybe to a minute, and I came good again. And I was thinking, what the fuck was that? And it played in my mind the whole trip. I was like, why did that happen for? And I got back and I remember saying it to Dad. I remember saying, yes, it was a great trip, but like I had this weird thing where I just got really like depressed, but it didn't last very long, so it's all good. I brushed it off again. And then it started to happen more when I was drinking, and then I think the feeling of not being enough, the feeling of if I don't succeed in rugby, who am I going to be? My identity was a rugby player. I had put all my eggs in this one basket, which is fine to do, but I attached my self-worth and identity to Elliot, the rugby player. I'm going to be nothing without it. And then it was thinking of, feelings of depression and suicide. And it got to a point where I didn't want to be around anymore. And I made the decision that the day that I couldn't stop playing rugby, I was just going to kill myself. So I was just going to keep playing footy, keep partying, neglecting all the things that I need to be doing, like suppressing everything, ignoring all the signs, all the red flags, everything that my body was saying to me that you need to seek help, I was ignoring it all and was like, all that matters was playing footy. And if I can't do that, I honestly didn't think I was going to make it out of my 20s. I honestly thought like I was going to get to 29, 30 and just kill myself. That was the plan, right? And I made that plan like when I was about 24, 25. And then I got into obviously the drug taking a fair bit, playing footy. And that was, at that time in my life, was the only remedy I found for a clear head. You talked about sort of going for runs. Mine was an easy thing of just taking drugs, and it was like the most euphoric feeling that I ever had at the time. It was just like complete and utter silence, and that was my addiction. I was just like, I want to feel like that all the time. When I played footy, I felt like it. So every Saturdays I'd feel like it. I was just completely present. And then when I stopped playing footy, like on the Saturdays and during the weeks, I was like, fuck, I need this feeling all the time. So it was a constant battle of trying to be a professional athlete while also being a functioning drug addict. Right. And that was like the circle I was going through for years, thinking it was so bad, knowing it was so bad for me, but didn't want to get off the train because it was like my coping mechanism. That's how I coped. Like that's how I dealt with everything, and I didn't want it to end, but also knowing how bad it was for me. So then that's when it became a point where I was just like, you are pathetic. Like you are honestly like people think you're this, but you're really like, they have no idea who you really are. Like you've kept everything away from everyone. Like from outside looking in, they think you're this one thing, but deep down you're just a piece of shit. Like that's how I thought about myself. Like the relationship I had with myself was horrendous. Like I hated myself. I hated looking in the mirror. Like I hated talking about myself. I hated interacting with people later on just because I just didn't want to be around people because I was so ashamed of myself, and I was just lying. I was just lying about how I felt. I was lying all the time about what was actually going on in my life. And then it got to a point where I had an overdose and knowingly took a handful of drugs, not caring if I was going to wake up or not. And remember waking up and was in denial, pretending like it didn't happen, pretend it was just a funny overdose you had with all your, going out partying. It was just a normal, common thing. People have it all the time. And didn't tell anyone about it. Honestly, like lied to myself so hard that I convinced myself that it didn't happen. Like I completely blocked it out. And then I remember going down to Sydney for New Year's and just taking all the drugs in the entire world over that 4 or 5 days, and coming back and not being able to sleep and fully just cooking my nervous system and my brain. And I remember like I checked myself into hospital because I couldn't sleep. And I remember like checking myself into hospital. I was so dehydrated, and I was there for a few hours chatting with the nurse. And I remember chatting with the chaplain there at the hospital, and he was like, "Is everything all right at home?" And I'm like, "Yeah, everything's fine." He's like, "Everything all right with you?" And I'm like, full denial mode again. "Yeah, everything's sweet. Everything's all good." And this is the state I was in. Like I was so broke because I was always spending my money on drugs that I had to call my mum and dad to pay for the visit to the hospital. And it was like 3 a.m, and they were like, "Why are you in hospital?" And I was like, "Oh, I just had like I had a big weekend, not feeling the greatest," like lying to them, right? And I could tell that they knew something was wrong, right? Just by their tone and their voice. We never said it to each other. But I remember like them being on the phone and them saying like, "Is everything all good?" And me going, "No." Oh, me going, yeah, everything's all good. And they're going, "Yeah, okay." And I could just tell, we both could tell that they knew I was lying, right? And then I remember like laying in bed at the hospital, like got off the phone with them, knowing that I'm going to have this conversation with them at some point in my life. And I remember laying in bed thinking like, all the sacrifices my mum and dad have made, come over from New Zealand, like raised 3 boys, fuck all wage, like, we had the best childhood, we went camping, and I'm just reflecting on all my whole childhood and all the things that they've done for me and the position they've put me in and all the training and all the sacrifices they've made, all my footy games and everything they've done for me. And for me to lay here and be too afraid, too scared to face what was going on in my head, you know? And how is that fair on them that of all they've done for me, all I was too scared. We talked about it before. I was too scared to face what was going on in my head. And I just felt so much regret and so much shame, so much guilt that I was if I didn't stop, I was going to put myself in a position where my mum and dad would have to say goodbye to me, you know, and no parent should ever have to say goodbye to their children. And I was about to cause them so much pain if I kept going. And I was just thinking, you selfish prick, like you absolute selfish prick, like how dare you do that to your mum and dad? Let's go. Like I talk about it to some people where, yes, it was an addiction. It was addiction to that feeling of feeling numb and feeling, I can just actually relax and be myself. That was the addiction. And I know a lot of people go to rehab and they do the 12-step program and they go to, you know, all sorts of, you know, doctors and that sort of thing. And that's fine for me. I remember waking up like the very next day, and the switch had flicked, right? And my whole life changed. Like I remember just going, fuck, everything changed. Moved back to Sunny Coast, stopped drug taking, stopped drinking, got into fitness and exercise and started like dealing with some stuff. Went and booked a session with a psychologist that I saw regularly for a couple of months. But that was just the beginning of like me sorting my shit out. It was like years and years of like emotions and feelings that I had suppressed for so long and not talking to anyone about it and just thinking that I could just deal with it on my own. And like the psychologist sessions, it was just like the first 3 of them was just me talking like this. She didn't say a word. She was just sitting there, and I would stop talking and she would go, well, what else? And I'll go, yeah, what else? Boom. And I'll just like, you know, just vomiting like word, like just all these things that was happening, all the emotions. Then she would say, yeah, that's your time done. I'll see you next week. And I needed that. Like, I was so afraid to talk to my mum and dad and parents and people that loved me because I was like, didn't want sympathy. I didn't want them to treat me differently. I didn't want to see them as like this lost, sad, depressed person. And I didn't want them to feel sorry for me. So it was actually so good to have someone that had no connection to me that could just go home and sleep well that night and treated me like, all right, I'll see you next week. And I love that. I was just like, sweet, like they don't know who I am.
Yeah.
They don't perceive judgment of who I am, the person I am. And that was like the beginning of firstly healing, you know, some of the things that I experienced as a kid and things that I held on to that I shouldn't have, that I didn't know that I was holding on to a few things, and that just manifested into some trust issues and how I viewed myself. And that also tied into like me diving deeper into my mood swings. Like I can be extremely moody. Didn't know that I was until I started asking friends and family, and they were like, yeah, you're always a bit moody. And I was like, fuck, I didn't know this, guys. You could have told me earlier. And so I went and saw a psychiatrist, and we talked about the moodiness and my sort of lows, and they put me on a spectrum of bipolar where, you know, he was saying that your highs are normal highs. It's just when you get into a low, your low is lower than others. So my lows, traditionally, when I get into a low, it would last 3 or 4 days. I'd be the worst person to be around. I'd leave the house, but I wouldn't engage with anyone. I wouldn't live life to the fullest. I would just sort of float through time and space until the 3 days are up. And then that's how I would cope. And I just thought that was normal. Like, but it was ruining relationships. It was ruining friendships. Like, my fiance at the time, Jordan, like she gave me an ultimatum. Like she witnessed 2 or 3 episodes where I completely lost it, right? Embarrassingly, like completely lost it. And I remember coming home after a couple of days of like anger, and she sat me down and she was like, I love you, right? But if you want to be a father, if we want to have family, if we want to have kids together, I can't have you do that to our kids. Like I'm setting a standard right now, and I can't afford you to be like that around our kids. So you either seek help, change, be a better version of yourself, or we can't go on. And I was like, fuck, this woman's the love of my life. Like, and I'm still avoiding the things that I need to be doing. So, you know, at that time I had made so much change in my life, but there were still things buried that I kept avoiding, and then went to a psychiatrist and just talked about certain things. And spoke deeply around my mood swings and my emotions and how I can just wake up one morning and I can tell if it's going to be a good day or a bad day, right? And I used to just to go with it. Whereas now he's given me tools and tips and ways to, when you're in a low, there's ways to get out of it. You know, there's ways to acknowledge it. There's ways to still live life and be a productive member of society and still be a good family man and a good fiance and all these things without letting it consume you. And I used to let it consume me. I used to just like give into it. I'd just be like, oh, fuck it. Like I'll just be a prick for a couple of days. And I hated that. I honestly hated that about me. And then I would get angry at the way that I am and then get angry for me getting angry. It was just like a spiral effect of just me hating on myself. And he was like, firstly, you got to stop hating on yourself for one. Like that gets you nowhere at all. Firstly, you got to accept and realize that this is the current situation. You getting angry about it's not going to fix it and it's not going to do any better. So you got to accept that this is when it happens, it's happening. So the best way you can deal with it is accept it and realize and communicate it. So if I'm in a low, I'll tell Jordan, yeah, I'm in a bit of a low today. And then, all right, what do you got to do? And he gives me ways like what we talked about before about your mental health, like figure out ways to deal with it. So I've got a cold plunge and sauna at my house. I'll do that in the morning. I wonder how I feel after that. And I'll go, oh, I feel kind of better. And Jordan will say, how do you feel? I'm like, oh, I feel a little bit better. She's like, what have you eaten today? And we'll talk about like nutrition and like what's going in my body. And then, have you gone to the gym yet? I go, I haven't gone to the gym yet. She goes, go to the gym and come back. And then I go, I actually do feel much better. And she's like, have you worked on your podcast? Are you doing editing and stuff like that? And I'm like, oh, no, not yet. And then I'll get into that. And then by the end of the day, it's just like, you've ticked all the boxes and you've done all of those things. And yes, you're in a low, but you've ticked all those boxes and you've sort of gotten out of that low and you're thinking, oh, well, that was great. And then from there, you just stack days. So you talk about, like I've heard that thing about just stacking days, and because you have confidence that you've done it once, you know you can do it again. So when a low comes, before it used to be like, oh, dreading, like this is going to be the worst. And now when a low comes, I'm like, all right, checklist, what do I got to do? Boom, boom, boom. By the end of by midday or early afternoon, the low is not there anymore. I'm feeling back to who I am. And then knowing that that's going to be a part of life and not dreading that either, not going, oh, fuck, why me? Like, why do I have to go through this? And why do I have to go through this every couple of months or every month or whatever it is? I used to be like, fucking hell, like, surely it can be someone else have to go through this. Like, I felt like such a victim. Yep. Where now it's like, it's a good excuse for me to do healthy things in my life. Like, what a great excuse is it to have an ice bath, have a sauna, eat well and exercise and maybe work on a spiritual or a mental goal or, a passion of mine. And I'm like, can't be really of a bad thing, is it? Because it's forcing me to really look inwards and look after myself. Whereas like we go through life sometimes and it's so easy to neglect those crucial things that make us who we are or put us in a good headspace. But for me now, it's like, it forces me to do it every single day. So it just becomes like a natural, lifestyle and routine for me. And my life has changed dramatically since. Like I haven't had an episode since. Like how I view certain situations now, it's so easy. It used to be so easy for me to get angry at, whether it's, traffic on the road or how people talk to you or, certain things in life where it's just like, it hasn't gone the way that you planned it to go. And I used to freak out when I plan something and I want it to go a certain way and it doesn't go that way. I used to lose it. Now it's just like, well, maybe it's better this way. Maybe that this plan's change and this didn't happen the way it was meant to go. Maybe there's a better way for it. And like changing my perspective and how I view like how my life is going and the route it's taking and like I just sort of let it go with the flow instead of trying to control so much all the time. And like, you talked about being genuine and being myself. And like, if I didn't start this podcast, I wouldn't have leaned into myself as much and like really like gotten to know myself and, love who I am. It opened up so many doors, and the people that I'm meeting and the conversations I'm having with people, I would never have had of it if I didn't, take a risk and take a leap and actually start the podcast, something I was so afraid of. But, it's the best thing that could have happened because it's obviously, you talk about sort of service to others and I started this as a service to me, really. Like I started this for me having chats with people and like gaining something from that. But it's also like, you know, the ripple effect of that is the community that we're creating and the goal that we're trying to have with open dialogue around your mental health and your mental well-being, but also like how to live sort of a life that's true to yourself. Like we're all different. Like I'm not saying that you've got to be doing this and you've got to be doing that, but I'm encouraging people to be genuine and be who they are and not feel they have to be someone else, have to fit in. Like I love that everyone's individual. I love it. I like when I meet someone, you know, we talk about like, you know, I don't know if Nick Kyrgios, the tennis player, like people think he's polarizing, that sort of thing. I love him because he's genuine. I like that's him. You either like him or you don't like him.
Yeah.
But like when you meet Nick, you see him, you're just like, I love that he's individual, you know, and that's what sort of the podcast came about. And hopefully, man, the goal one day is to get out of the mines and do this full time and do tours. And, you know, I'd love to get into schools and, talk to young kids and even sort of footy clubs and talk around that sort of stigma that is still around in rugby clubs around your mental health. I never talked about it when I was sort of playing footy, and when this podcast came about, I had heaps of ex-teammates sort of contact me and say, man, I was going through the same thing that you're going through. And I was like, fuck, why didn't we talk about it? Like, why we had all that opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah.
So the amount of messages and the amount of the awareness is coming because of this. And the relationships I'm having with people and meeting people like yourself is just, yeah, it's incredible, man. It's honestly like one of the proudest things that I've honestly ever done. I haven't got kids or anything like that, but I think for where I am in this moment, is taking that, like being brave enough to go through those challenges and actually want to change to be a better version, and then obviously creating this and putting myself out there. And like, I used to be so private. I used to hate talking about myself. I used to hate, you know, when I first started, I wanted everything for the guests. Like I didn't want my name on it. I didn't want my face on it. I wanted everything towards the guest. But now I'm more open and more confident in telling my story and putting myself out there a bit more than I usually would. So yeah, it's been incredible, honestly. It's been one of the best things that I've ever done. It's helped the relationship I have with Jordan. Like Jordan came on the podcast, and I'm what it's taught me is like I'm a much better listener. You know, I used to talk just to reply before. Like I had this issue where, and I look back to my old episodes where you would say something and then I would just want to jump in and share my opinion, right? And it's just really taught me just to sit and be present and just listen, right? And listen to my friends, listen to my family. Like everyone's, like we said before, everyone's got a story, right? Everyone's got their own backgrounds. Like it's helped me with the relationship I have with Jordan and fully understanding her life, how she's been brought up, her perspective on life. We're very, very different. And that's just a beautiful thing where I can actually sit down with, you know, my mum and dad and have open dialogue about our childhoods, what's happened, and not see them as, not see my parents now as like a mum and dad, even though they are. I look at them as mates now, which is a cool relationship to have, where we can joke, we can joke about things that's happened, or we can talk about rubbish, or it doesn't have to be like, you know, I love it now that it's not like I sort of, not afraid of them, but I'm like, oh, I can't talk to mum and dad about these sort of things. Where now it's just like we're mates, and maybe mum and dad overshare too much. Maybe I'm like, yeah, I don't need to know that, mum. But yeah, it's honestly has changed. It's changed my life in such a big way.
Would you ever have your mum on here?
If mum was open to it, mum's a bit more reserved than dad. Dad was amazing. Dad came on and he's a very good talker, and he spoke about his childhood, and it's a great episode if you want to tune into it. It's one of the most powerful episodes I've ever done with dad. Yeah, mum's a bit reserved. Mum's a bit shy. She's pretty vocal when it's just her at the house. But I'm always open to it. Like I would love to get my brother on the podcast. I don't know what it is when you have a setting like this, whether it has to be formal.
Yeah.
Or I don't think me and dad would have had the conversation if it wasn't on the podcast. For some reason, it was just like cameras sitting there. There's doors locked. You can't get out.
Yeah.
We've got to sit in and talk it out.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think we would have sat at home and been like, so open and honest and understanding and open-minded about the whole situation, I don't think it would have been so successful if it was just at home in our own space. I think we would have like gone the easy way out and gone, nah, it's all good now. You know, that sort of feeling. So I think it was so beneficial that it was in front of cameras and people were watching and we had to talk it out. We had to deal with it.
Yeah. I think, you've created a space here where it has opened up so many doors, like you said, and allowed people to come and share and like talk about things that you can't just talk about out there. And for some reason, when you go into this setting, people are just start sharing and opening.
Yeah.
You know?
It's and that's the sort of environment that I wanted to create, was like that you could feel comfortable enough that you could just chat, and it was going to be accepting, and whatever you're going to say, you know, it was always going to come from a place of love, and I was never going to like judge or look at you differently or anything like that. There was just two people just expressing their life or what happened or how they feel.
Having a yarn.
Brother, thank you so much for coming on today, mate. I really appreciate it. You mentioned before, man, like you lived a hell of a life so far. It's been one incredible journey, and I thank you so much for coming on and just being you, being so open and honest and real. And I'm really looking forward to what the future holds for you. I know you're someone that's a high achiever and you're very driven and focused. So I'm sure whatever you put your mind to, I know that you'll over succeed. So I appreciate it. And again, like hopefully it's the start of a long friendship.
Yeah, man. It's been great. Obviously I hadn't met you before coming on here. But yeah, it's been awesome. Like when you share conversations like this and talk about topics, you can't help but I just wanted to come over and give you a big hug when you were talking. I was like, you know, like when you were sharing your story, I almost like started crying inside. But yeah, it's been awesome to come and just have a chat, and thanks for having me, and
appreciate it, brother.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Mind Your Head. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really supports the show and helps others discover us. Don't forget to join us on Instagram and TikTok at mindyourhead.podcast.